sharing durian ASEAN.
Hello and good morning. You're with Gowri today on the ASEAN breakfast call on durianasean.com. So if you want to tune in to us, of course, you can go to our website at www.durianasean.com, or you can download our TuneIn app radio on your smartphone, and you can also look for durianasean.com, and you can stream us live from your phone. So today is a Thursday, and the time now is 8 o'clock. And of course, we're going to start with our fresh news from all over Southeast Asia, and also address some pressing world news that we have today. And before I start, I just want to give you a little quote, which is by Walt Disney, where he says, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them," which I think makes a lot of sense, because we all have our dreams, but we don't always pursue them because we are afraid of failure. We don't know if we are capable of making those dreams come true. But the fact is that you can, if you're really committed to it, and if you are really focused and determined about making it happen. So once again, all of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. So just going back a little bit in history today, in 1930, today, Uruguay defeated Argentina 4-2 in front of their home crowd at Estadio Centenario in Montevideo to win the first football World Cup. That was back in 1930. And in 2012, the largest power outrage in history occurred across 22 Indian states, affecting over 620 million people. And that's about 9% of the world's population. And with that, I will move on to our ABC news this morning, starting from Malaysia, where the government is reported to be mulling over a special identification card proposal. And this is reported by The Star. And the government is studying a proposal that anyone whose citizenship has yet to be determined be issued with a special identification card. Home Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said such measure could help with issues involving those who were in limbo over their citizenship. But based on the National Registration Department, the NRD records, there are three categories of citizenship, which is citizen, non-citizen, and yet to be determined. A yet to be determined status could be due to a marriage not being recognized, the mother's citizenship undetermined, incomplete documentation, or that the child was abandoned. Dr. Ahmad Zahid said in an interview. However, there is no stateless category under the NRD. So speaking of special identification card, I don't quite probably agree with this, because it's either you're a citizen or a non-citizen, and those who are yet to be determined should only be because they were not born in Malaysia, or if it's the case of some probably migrant workers or something. But it seems that even a lot of migrant workers seem to be able to obtain identifications quite easily. So for the citizens themselves, people who are born and raised in Malaysia, it shouldn't be a problem for them by right to get any sort of an identification, because there are a lot of cases that I've read over the years where senior citizens who have been in the country for 50 to 60 years, but they probably have some complications like the lack of education, or the lack of documentation, like they probably lost their birth certificate in a fire, or while moving, or just simply because they were careless, and they are not entitled to a my card or a blue IC, and that is something that the government needs to address as well. But then again, it's not fair to just give them a yet to be determined or a special special identification card in this case. There probably should be other criteria as well to to come up and to see if these people are really Malaysians, and if they can speak fluent Malay. If they've been here for a while, then they should be given the Malaysian citizenship card. And he also said that those whose citizenship status was yet to be determined faced a host of problems, which is very true, especially when getting a job or when receiving health care, because if you don't have an IC, you do not enjoy the benefits of other Malaysians when you go to a hospital or you go to a government clinic. And they have complications even in terms of opening bank accounts and owning property. And they would also be restricted in their movements. The situation, he said, would have a big effect on social and economic welfare in the country. And he concluded saying that we have at least 15 such cases this year. When things catch up with them and the children later on, then they come seeking help from us. Probably the welfare department can also come up with some efforts to help these people, because they lack the education and they probably don't know how to go about applying for a proper uh, identification, proper an IC and a my card, and these people need someone to probably help them step by step, to bring them to the office, tell them what forms to fill in and what to do, who to see, instead of just leaving them on their own, saying that, oh, they don't come to us until like the last minute, until they are married and they have children. I'm sure they don't want it to be that way, but they probably don't know what to do, and there could be an operation maybe to come up with a team of people to help out this underprivileged people. And moving on to a news about sustainable energy development in Malaysia, where the Sustainable Energy Development Authority sheds some light on the government's efforts to improve energy efficiency and to adopt alternative energy sources. The oil, gas, and energy industry plays a prominent role in the Malaysian economy, contributing about one-fifth of the national gross domestic product over the past decade. The government's key economic areas, or the NKEA, for the sector places emphasis on building services and manufacturing while retaining incentives to ensure constant production levels, as well as moving into alternative forms of energy ranging from solar power to electric vehicles. So Malaysia's energy usage has actually increased with the country's industrialization. However, the limited supply of fossil fuels, coupled with negative effects of these fuels on the environment, has created the need to improve energy efficiency, especially in power and fuel consumption. So over the years, we have been reading and listening to a lot of news about energy conservation, about not wasting electricity, not wasting water or any kind of energy at all. But if it's something unlimited like the sunlight, it's fine. But in Malaysia, we do have a water crisis right now, and apart from that, um, we are also constantly encouraged to save electricity, to always turn off the lights and the fan, the air conditioning whenever you leave the room. And also in terms of recycling, we're still not quite there yet. A lot of people are still not aware, or they just don't know that you can even recycle. If you go to most shopping malls these days, every one of those shopping malls have at least 3 bins for paper, plastic, and cans, and people are not making use of this as they should be doing, because these 3 bins actually helps a lot with the recycle process, because it already separates all the materials that you don't have to do it by yourself. And if you have a stack of papers that you don't need, you can just go and drop it in the bin. If you have plastic bottles, glass bottles, you can go and drop it in the appropriate bin, and they will just send it to the recycle center for you. You don't have to actually make the effort to get out there to go look for a recycling center. And there should probably be more of that bins everywhere. But I think um, the government is doing a good job in trying to increase this awareness, but uh, probably hasn't reached a wide amount of people as it should. And I hope that people will start becoming more aware of energy, of saving energy, and to improve energy efficiency, even while multitasking and everything, and always adopt for alternative energy sources, especially when it comes to driving a car, because fuel is one of the important energy available, and it is depleting, and it takes millions of years to reproduce. And always try to carpool with your friends, or try to take the public transportation as much as you can, especially during peak hours. You're not stuck in the jam, you're not wasting your gas. And also, like, while waiting for someone, make sure you turn off your engine and don't leave it running. And hopefully we will get there someday, where we have a substantial, sustainable energy development in the country. And moving to Liberia, security forces. This is regarding the Ebola virus, which we will be discussing later in our ABC dialogue. And apparently schools in Liberia has been shut, considering quarantine to curb the Ebola. And Liberia will actually close schools and quarantining some communities, as it said yesterday on Wednesday, announcing the toughest measures yet imposed by a West African government to halt the worst Ebola outbreak on record. Security forces in Liberia were also ordered to enforce these steps, part of an action plan that includes placing all non-essential government workers on a 30-day compulsory leave. And Ebola has been blamed for nearly 600 over deaths in Liberia, neighboring Guinea, Sierra Leone, according to the World Health Organization figures, as underfunded healthcare systems have struggled to cope with the epidemic. Liberia has accounted for just under 1/5 of this death. So this has been the news all over Africa recently, and they also said that they need the support of the international community now more than ever, because they desperately need all the help that they can get. But highlighting international concern about the crisis, the U.S. Peace Corps said it was withdrawing 340 volunteers from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. An earlier draft of measures sent to Reuters specified communities to be quarantined. And it also seems that this is of course a major public health emergency. It's fierce, deadly, and many of our countrymen are dying, and we need to act to stop the spread, said Louis Brown, who is Liberia's information minister, as he told Reuters. And when these measures are instituted, only healthcare workers will be permitted to move in and out of these areas. Food and other medical support will be provided to those communities and to the affected individuals. And all markets in border areas are to be closed. So it seems that they are really serious about this Ebola outbreak, which is a very pressing issue that is also feared to that it might actually spread all over the world, including Asia and Southeast Asia. And this Ebola is actually it spreads through wild animals or infected plants. And a U.S. administration official said on Monday that President Barack Obama is also monitoring this situation. And it's a lot of the Liberians are overwhelmed by this issue, and the health officials there said an isolation unit for the Ebola victims was overrun with cases, and health workers are being forced to treat up to 20 new patients in their homes. And he said the staff are overwhelmed, and this is a humanitarian crisis in Liberia, according to Nien Sua. And she also said that the suspected patients were being treated by trained medical staff with full protective gear, and that it would take at least 24 to 36 hours to build a new unit. And dozens of healthcare workers, including from Sierra Leone and Liberia's two top Ebola doctors, have died treating patients. Two Americans working for Samaritan Spurs, a U.S. charity operating in Liberia, were infected. And but the organization said that it would stop running case management centers in Liberia after attack on employees over the weekend and resistance from the local community to the expansion of their unit in Monrovia. The organization is also withdrawing non-essential staff from the country. So this is a very it's a major dilemma for people, because you want to go and help them, but at the same time you get infected and you die. But all these people there need help as well, and we will be talking more about this later in our ABC dialogue. So moving on to MH17, where the Dutch Prime Minister is urging Ukraine to stop fighting at the crash site. So we know that there is a civil war happening right now in Ukraine between the pro-separatist and the military. And the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has called for Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko to ask Ukrainian forces to stop fighting around the MH17 crash site. So the Prime Minister actually called the Ukrainian president with a request to halt all these hostilities that's happening. And Poroshenko he replied that he would do everything possible to allow investigators access. And Rutte also expressed his concern about the fact that it appeared that the investigators may today yet not gain reach to the site. So it seems that for the last couple of weeks, a lot of people have been sending out all these countries, Australia, Malaysia, Netherlands, have been trying to send their teams to the crash site to find out what really happened, and of course assess the situation, evidence and whatnot. But it hasn't been possible because of the civil war that's happening there between the Ukrainian troops and the pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine. And that fighting has also killed dozens and dozens of civilians, soldiers. I think we reported that yesterday as well. So the Dutch Prime Minister now is urging for the president to speak to these people, these troops, and also the pro-separatist group, pro-Russian rebels, to at least just subside a little bit so the investigation can carry on, and because people are waiting to find out what happened with the plane and what happened with their loved ones, and it's a bit it's inconsiderate for them to not give us access to the crash sites and to let us carry out the investigation and to find out what really went wrong. And moving on to Southeast Asia, there's a new drug-resistant malaria reaching the Southeast Asian borders, also reported by the Star Online. And that could actually spread to Africa. I don't think Africa needs any more virus than or whatever epidemic that they already have. But this drug-resistant malaria parasites have spread to border regions of Southeast Asia, seriously threatening global efforts to control and eliminate mosquito-borne disease, researchers said on Wednesday. The scientists who analyzed blood samples from 1,241 malaria patients in 10 countries across Asia and Africa found resistance to the world's most effective anti-malarial drug, which is artemisinin, and it's now widespread in Southeast Asia. However, the study found no signs set yet of resistance in the 3 African sites that it covered in Kenya, Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So while the they are cautioned that the conventional malaria control approaches would not be enough, and we will need to take more radical action and make this a global public health priority without delay, he said in a statement with his findings. So, what's happening here is that we have a drug-resistant malaria that is not being treated by what is known as supposedly the world's most effective anti-malarial drug, and this is causing this malaria to be widespread all over Asia, and it could be reaching Africa as well on top of their Ebola situation. And we definitely need to address this as soon as possible, like what the World Health Organization said. This has become a global public health priority because it is a serious issue, and I really hope that everyone would not get, so caught up with globalization, with modernization, caught up with work that we're starting to neglect our health, our well-being, because at the end of the day, it will catch up with you, and your health is probably the most important thing for you. It's not your job, it's not the money, it's not anything else. It goes back to yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to make sure you're always in the pink of health. You're always fit. Keep exercising and eat healthily, and take vitamins that improve your immune system. And hopefully they will find a way to come up with a solution for this problem as well. So that's all from me today. Stay tuned to DuranASEAN.com. We will be back in a bit for our Blast from the Grassroots, where we'll be discussing some very shocking revelations regarding the issue of Nepali workers in Malaysia, particularly in KL and Penang. So don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Also, we upload all our podcasts on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/DuranASEAN and subscribe to our channel. So I'll see you in a bit.